应该要把他们赶去中心的。
你把我当乐色？
哎，不是啊，不要误会，我不是真。
大家好，
我干嘛？你把我当乐色？
大家好，我们今天来这个一起围观一下川普总统美国总统川普在联合国发表的一次演讲最近这几天，应该就是上周3-4天之前，这个演讲呢引起了很多的争论很多人总结这一次的这个川普的演讲得出一个结论，就是川普总统就表达了一个信息，就是我不是针对谁，我只想说在座的各位都是乐色。所以我想起来以前这个我们来看一下
看我干嘛？你把我当乐色？
哎，不是啊，不要误会，我不是针对你我是说在座的各位都是乐色。
你是乐色！
断水流大师兄。
对，就是这个感觉就是这种感觉。我们来看一下为什么大家有这种感觉他是怎么样喷，而且川普非常幽默也讲话很有风格我们来就是听他演讲，有时候还挺有趣的。
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working.
Teleprompter 这个是提词器，就是一般政客做演讲的时候，很多时候有这个提词器但是他来的时候有一个插曲，就是电梯也坏了，然后提词器也坏了，他开始喷了。
I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
很搞笑是吧？In big trouble。你看他的小眼神儿，他的小眼神儿很可爱
Hello, Madam First Lady.
Hello, Madam First Lady， 就是来喊他老婆了。
Thank you very much for being here.
因为他老婆在跟他一起上走这个电梯的时候，电梯突然坏了，然后他说他老婆这个身体还很好
And Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, First Lady of the United States, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders. 6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on 2 continents. An era of calm and stability gave way to one of the great crises of our time. And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters.
Disasters， 他的名言 disasters。这个他提到了他上一次去联合国做演讲，那次也很搞笑，就那次也很搞笑，就是当时说了一个什么话，就是他自己吹牛，你知道吗？他自己吹牛呢，下面的人没有，就是下面爆发了这个哄堂大笑，然后他自己也很尴尬，就是非常尴尬，也很搞笑。大家如果有兴趣的，自己可以去翻一翻那个视频，很有意思
1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Hottest country 应该是说这个它是最火热的、最炙热、 最有活力的一个国家。
And there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration, including ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation like we've never had before. Under my leadership, energy costs are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates are down, and inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time.
这又在隶属他的这个功绩啊，他一上台，美国就是世界第一了 ，number one 了。
Growth is surging, manufacturing is booming, the stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done, and all of you in this room benefit by that, almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years.
这个是真的吗？这好像不是真的，好像不是真的。据我了解，这个不是真的。这个工资增长最快，今年有地方工资上涨了吗？反正我是没听说。
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8 months, much more than $17 trillion.
17万亿啊，这个也是很强啊。当然是因为他贸易战，关税啊，让美国的还有国外的企业要投资美国，他盟友主要是他盟友的一些企业。
Is being invested in the United States, and it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts in American history, making this once and again the best country on earth to do business. And many of the people in this room are investing in America, and it's turned out to be an awfully good investment during this 8-month period. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best economy ever, history of the world. And I'm doing the same thing again, but this time it's actually much bigger and even better. The numbers far surpass my record-setting first term. On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion. And for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been zero.
Zero. 现在确实没有听说什么这个非法移民从美国南边啊进来，可能走线的很少了。拜登执政期间就走线很多，这个确实现在非法入境的比较少了，非法入境的。
Because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional.
这个地方为什么会笑啊？
You're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means?
这
I
啥
want
意
to
思
thank the country of
？Even
El
further than
Salvador
that，
for these
这要么遣返，要么进监狱，那这是啥意思？言下之意是被干掉吗？还是怎么？
successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country. And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. We have no choice. And other countries have no choice because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it.
川普上台那个最重要的、最主要的政绩，或者是说他的主要的诉求，就是要把这个移民非法移民给他赶出去。
On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before. You think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 1 year ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. At the NATO summit in June, virtually all NATO members formally committed to increase defense spending at my request from 2% to 5% of GDP, making our alliance far stronger and more powerful than it was ever before. In May, I traveled to the Middle East to visit my friends and rebuild our partnerships in the Gulf and those valued relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE and other countries are now, I believe, closer than ever before. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months,
点名的国家还挺多的。
7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7.
这个就是贸易关税谈判它这不是多少岁，是多少年这个翻译偶尔有一些小问题，但大部分都是正确的。
Wars, and in all cases they were.
他结束了7场战争，这个地方。
I ended 7 wars.
7 wars. And 7 wars. 他 ended 哪 7 wars 看一下。
And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand,
开始
Kosovo and Serbia.
开始这个隶属自己的这个要得诺贝尔和平奖的这个致辞都想好了他这个结束了泰国和柬埔寨、科索沃和塞尔维亚。
The Congo and Rwanda. A vicious, violent war that was. Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran.
巴基斯坦和印度是他调和的吗？对，巴基斯坦、印度应该都是他的一个关系比较好的国家。
Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No.
这么厉害川普牛。为世界和平做贡献，就是很好
President or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that.
这个确实也是，其他国家不是世界警察，其他国家如果出来随便调停第一可能没有那个实力第二，这个美国可能会觉得这个国家是不是有野心什么的，是吧？
And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that.
7个月解决。
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations.
现在开始喷这个联合国了这是他做的事情，应该联合国来做。
did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle.
这个地方搞笑了，这个地方开始讲笑话了，很幽默啊，很幽默。你看他怎么说啊
If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood.
这个老胳膊老腿儿啊，但是还老当益壮，没有摔。
And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
非常，这个确实很幽默啊，很幽默。这个其实幽默这个东西啊，它只能在一个很自由的一个环境下面，想说什么说什么，对吧？他说什么呢？他也不担心，他就说，是吧？可能说的对不对，他先说出来。那么在这样一个环境下，幽默才会很多人才会欣赏这个幽默啊，不会说很紧张啊，是吧？很放松啊！你看他刚刚讲了一大堆，这个比较正儿八经的，然后现在几分钟，现在9分钟了，就开始讲段子了。
Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. Just went on. Thank you.
不知道他老婆现在今年多少岁啊？不知道他老婆今年多少岁？
I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now,
这个说的也有道理啊，联合国经常就是做一些非常强烈的谴责，是吧？经常听到联合国强烈谴责哪一个国家但是联合国也有维和部队啊。
Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements.
又提到诺贝尔和平奖，确实川普对这个可能有点执念啊，一直在说，一直在喊话这个瑞典是吧？这个给瑞典打个电话呀，瑞典的这个总统啊，或者是瑞典的这个一些评奖的这些委员会啊，但是美国人可能没有，他确实没有这种造假的这种，我不知道，可能也有是吧？拉关系啊。
But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We save
这个哥们儿卢比奥啊。
millions and millions of lives with the 7 wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York.
这个也开始讲段子了啊！我们再来看一下，仔细听一下。
And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them.
这他是专业的，他专业的建筑商，这些他很懂啊。这联合国说联合国这个有腐败啊，这个当时没有。他投标了，然后但是没有让他建，是吧？所以建的很垃圾。哎呀，这个有意思啊，很有趣啊，很有趣。就只有川普，只有他能够讲到这么有趣的这个话题啊。
You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see. Whether the UN can manage to play a productive role, I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history.
又开始讲这个，又开始讲正儿八经的东西了，但是。
Serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive.
哎，看看他开始喷什么了啊？他又要开始喷呢，又开始批评了气候。
Weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have
摧毁了一切啊！这个是很强啊。这个伊朗应该算是一个准核国家。
done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them. But we did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer.
他这个说了背后的细节，把伊朗打了一顿之后，伊朗和以色列就停战了，他让他们停战。
Everyone knows I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza.
Ceasefire.
Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they have taken so much, this could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now.
下面开始鼓掌了，要这个哈马斯要释放人质。确实很有可能，这里面啊，当然。看下面应该是做的这个人应该是蛮多，不知道有没有中国的代表团哈，应该做的人挺多，看来大部分人应该还是这个哈马斯是吧？大部分人还认同他的这个说法。
Thank you. As we have got to come together, and we will come together, going to get it done. We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate, immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2. And then another 2, and then 1, and then 3, have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too. Those parents came to me and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly, as though they were alive. They want them every bit as much as if their son or daughter were alive. I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years and killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week. From 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened
又开始喷这个拜登了。
to the United States. And look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures.
因为欧洲有的国家还在买俄罗斯石油，川普有点不爽了。
I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing.
哇，这下面还有这俄罗斯的代表，这是俄罗斯代表。然后他们还用手机拍，这俩哥们儿用手机拍干啥？这哥们儿在笑。
What they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia.
一边从俄罗斯买石油，一边跟俄罗斯打仗，这是。
It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth as we seek to reduce the threat.
这欧盟的冯布莱恩呢，还叫什么来着？这个欧盟的主席还是什么？
Of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce Biological Weapons Convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined.
这个话说的有点重了啊！就说欧洲这些国家呢，在被毁灭了啊！这个开始，这个应该就是很多人吐槽的，就是川普说其他的国家都是垃圾，是吧？
The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted
assault 攻击
$372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed.
You destroy your countries. 你把自己的国家给毁了。这个其他国家会怎么想呢？
Destroyed.
其他国家会怎么想呢？这个据说网上有一些其他国家的这个评论啊，比如说是这个法国媒体认为啊，说这次讲话是疯狂的、令人错愕的、混乱的。卫报评论说让联合国的价值观成为笑柄，号召各国强化反对川普的联盟。这确实有的国家还是有一些微词啊。
Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded.
但是他很多人肯定很支持他，尤其是像欧洲的右翼是吧？这几年反正全世界应该都进入到这个右翼的这个阶段，都是加强自身的这个身份认同啊，是吧？
By a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London where you have a terrible mayor,
terrible mayor. 在喷伦敦呢。
Terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. You're in a different country. You can't.
实行伊斯兰教法，就伦敦要实行伊斯兰教法，这个很多人认为是有点夸张啊，这个地方。
Can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But
每个国家都很独特，这个倒是说了一点常识啊，这个是常识啊。每个国家都是独一无二的，世界之所以如此美丽。
To stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws lodged false asylum claims or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of.
72%的囚犯来自其他国家吗？这个有点夸张了。
Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. And it was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death.
这个是不是事实？这个他也没讲数字是吧？
Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles to get up. They go through jungles. They go through.
真的吗？如果是这样的话，应该他说那到了两旁都有尸体，那如果是这样的话，应该有很多这样的视频啊，真没见到这样的报道，真的假的？这是。
So hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation. Areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of
历史上最高的支持率。
what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. Sold. Nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. And we found a lot of these children and we're sending them back, and we've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country and we'll find out and we'll figure it out and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rushed to the door and their tears in their eyes They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as and you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way. People don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. For this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice.
Blow you.
Can't let it happen. They're destroying.
Out of
I believe
existence.
we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs. 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs.
这个贩毒应该是这个贩毒应该是显然是国内的美国的和国外这种勾结的吧。
More than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving.
能源，开始讲能源了。
We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate. And they have to be rebuilt all the time, and they start to rust and rot. Most expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but
I give China a lot of credit. 这个意思应该是不是说对中国非常信任，是说这个把这个功劳啊，把功劳归结给中国啊，这是他也认可啊，对中国的一种认可。
But they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they?
这个地方说的肯定是有问题的。
And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why?
说这个说的肯定是有问题的。他说中国建了很多风电站，但是中国的风力发电厂很少。那这新疆的到处都是风力发电厂啊，新疆的风力发电厂非常多啊，简单搜一下是吧？新疆风力发电是吧？这网上到处都是啊，这到处都是照片啊！新疆的风力发电肯定是非常，连云南那个地方也有很多的这个风力发电的。
Is it that they build them and they send them all over the world? But They barely use them. You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling
They
the
don't like
windmills.
wind. 所以说，你从他这个风格里面应该能看出来，他说的很多东西，他有自己的理解，是吧？所以你也很难，就是说你可能需要进一步确认。
Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being.
这是中国的代表，看到中国代表了。这个耿爽，这个表情看起来很有内涵的。
On the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda, and I give a lot of credit to Germany.
给 Germany 也高度评价，是吧？刚刚是给中国 credit，I give credit to China， 给中国一个高度评价，现在又给德国一个高度评价，啥意思？我看一下。
A lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world? But
他如果是这么想的，那肯定他很多的政策他是有那个的呀。他就是因为事实都有问题啊。中国的风力发电或者是中国的新能源的话，至少占到总能源的至少40-50%吧，至少啊。新疆那个地方可能达到60-70%哦，新疆。
they barely use them. You know what they use? Coal.
说中国用煤炭，中国用煤炭至少应该现在有一半啊。
They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind.
They don't like wind. 这个中国不喜欢风吗？风能发电吗？这个这个在云南肯定是有的，是吧？云南在新疆肯定非常多啦。
They sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe, and you can do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy-producing plants, and they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in New York City. I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down. And by the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's after 12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business. And they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got
这个国民警卫队啊，就是川普啊，现在想在国内加强这个控制啊。
1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. And I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, And more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish and English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible as any.
这个地方也开始喷这个绿色能源了啊，气候变化了。但是他们可能看他这个样子，他这个语气啊，或者他好像是不是特别，他不很喜欢这个风力发电破坏这个环境，说他这个环境可能没有那么漂亮了。
Nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global.
记得有个电影叫《后天》是吧？是讲全球变暖之前会有全球变冷。
Global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because
climate change.
That way they can't miss. It's climate change, because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world.
Con job 是一种诈骗啊。
In my opinion, climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
It's a green scam.
And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about...
Braggadocious way, braggadocious. 吹牛。
The campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's
braggadocious way.
True. I've been right about
吹牛
everything. And I'm telling you that
I'll
if
be
you don't
right
get away
about
from
everything.
the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must.
这个说的有一定道理啊，就是你如果是想非常 nice。对别人很 nice， 那么你可能欢迎移民哦，大家对吧？移民来了无所谓，但是他认为这个移民破坏了他们的文化啊。
Take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up
hoax 也是骗局
by people with evil intentions. And they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint And then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming.
一会儿喷完了这个拜登啊，要喷奥巴马啊。
And the carbon footprint. It's a con job.
Con job.
At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs. A lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world.
这个真的假的？这个数字。
So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense.
You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are
kill all the cows, 把牛都干掉。
Just unbelievable, and you have it too. But you know, we have a border, strong. And
strong
we have a
border,
shape,
strong.
And that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough.
这个地方的这些动作确实非常形象啊。
It blows.
Blows.
And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about, flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco. And then somebody will get in trouble because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that are put down to polluting countries that break the rules and are making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China, and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill, baby, drill, and that's what we're doing.
Drill 应该是石油钻井平台，或者这个石油的那个石油工业吧。
We're going to be much lower in a year from now, but they've come way down over the last year. As a result, every air conditioner is like very uncommon to see one in some of these countries because the electric costs are so high. So while the U.S. has approximately 1,300 heat-related deaths annually, that's a lot, Europe loses more than 175,000 people to heat deaths each year because the costs are so expensive you can't turn on an air conditioner. What is that all about? That's not Europe. That's not the Europe that I love and know. All in the name of pretending to stop the global warming hoax. the entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now
这个确实，美国的传统的这个石油工业确实很强啊，所以它只能靠这个，它跟中国竞争不了这个新能源，它只能靠这个传统能源才能跟中国竞争呢。
the largest exporter.
所以说白了，其实还是利益啊。
In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that followed the rules, all their factories have been plundered. It's really sad to watch. They've been broken. They've been broken by countries that broke the rules. That's why the United States is now applying tariffs to other countries, and much as these tariffs were
开始讲到这个关税了。
for many years applied to us, uncontrollably applied to us. We've used tariffs as a defense mechanism under the Trump administration, including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest inflation, and now we have very low inflation. The only thing different is that we have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into our country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future. We're also using tariffs to defend our sovereignty and security throughout the world, including against nations that have taken advantage of former U.S. administrations for decades, including the most corrupt, incompetent administration in history, the Sleepy Joe Biden administration. Brazil now faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? We actually agreed that we would meet next week.
刚刚这个下面这个卢拉就住在下面。
We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? We actually agreed that we would meet next week.
卢拉和这个川普要
We didn't
见
have
面
much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk. We had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed
有可能要一起谈这个农业啊，这个巴西的现在大豆都出口到中国了。
like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you and
He like me, I like him.
I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign.
Excellent chemistry.
But also in the past, Brazil, can you believe this? Unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting them back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and shortly thereafter, the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you.
2028的美国奥运会，2026是世界足球世界杯啊，这个有意思啊！2028是美国的奥运会，这个我之前不知道啊。
I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. And it's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values really that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and charity.
Christianity 就是基督教，他认为基督教受到了很大的迫害啊。
Cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you are going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit and skill.
这个确实很强啊，人家这没有用提词器，人家这输出，这个演讲能力真是超级厉害啊。
Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes.
很强，这跟贯口一样，这种演讲能力啊。所以川普的口才确实是非常厉害的。你别看他有时候讲段子，但是真正的发挥的时候，讲那个正儿八经的这个演讲的时候，我觉得不输给奥巴马。我觉得。
Tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires.
Mighty
empires. They were a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up, and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is
magnificent destiny.
part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together let us uphold our
感觉这人还挺多啊，这人都坐满了呀。
sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship, really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before. That can happen. It will happen. It will happen, and I hope it can happen and start right now, right at this moment. We'll turn it around. We're going to make our countries better, safer, more beautiful. We're going to take care of our people. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Bye.
The nation of the world， 因为他还是很强啊，他的演讲这后面这一段就贯口一样，巴拉巴拉巴拉巴拉巴拉，这能力确实不是一般人啊。
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States.
上面的这三个人主持人很强很强，我不知道下面有没有评论啊？看一下下面评论。下面评论说 I'm impressed. I never heard someone lie for about 50 minutes straight. 这个人居然有69个人支持他，说川普这个撒谎了50分钟。这个人评论 Hard to believe that the president of the most powerful, wealthy, and most influential country in the world comes to the United Nations among the world leaders, dragging his previous administration through the mud, complaining about a contract that didn't want as a real estimate developer. 这个就是说很难置信，这个世界上最强大的那个总统跑到联合国，在很多世界领袖面前吹嘘他自己以前的这个执政啊，然后抱怨这个合同啊，以前他没有这个联合国的合同没有给他承包是吧？没有当上包工头啊，还有大理石地板等等这些 unreal。You missed the point. You missed the point. 说他 missed the point， 这个也有道理啊。You missed the point. 他其实只是想幽默一下啊。But he's right on many levels. 这个人说川普是正确的，是吧 ？Racism, arrogance, selfishness, biological weapon convention. 都是说 speak the truth and the truth always hurt. 这个人就是说川普说了。事实是吧 ？He's talking sense here. I like his brutal honest. 就是他很诚实啊。God bless America. 这个人支持他。It's up to UN to stop illegal immigrants, and it's up to the countries to stop war. Wow, powerful stuff. Great president. 看来大部分还是这个挺川普的啊。Trump.Speak truth. No mention of the deaths of the innocent people, 70K, of which 20K children. No mention of 这个应该说是加沙和哈马斯啊。Speechless 无语 ，straight to the point, no nonsense. Wow, super. Need someone like Trump to operate UN 是个笑话。这个 meeting is for Gaza, not to explain your achievement and failure. 说这个会议是关于加沙的会议，不要解释你自己的成就和失败。确实确实。然后这就是他有点跑题了，是吧 ？Human being called as alien because of their 这个因为他们的国籍是吧？他们被称为这个外星人啊。You are very smart cookie. Here is the definition of alien. Alien, foreign country. Alien, 外星人。就是这个人他解释一下什么叫 alien 其实也可以指的是一个异域文化，所以说外国人叫 alien 在英语的原始的这个意义下面也没什么大问题。No matter what he says, he does what Master Israel says. 他说了以色列他的大主人以色列主人说的这下面反正有 love Trump 的，有反对 Trump 的。好了，行，拜拜。